Hello and welcome to Islanders Anxiety from Lighthouse Hockey and the Fans First Sports Network. My name is Dan Saracini. Joining me on this Sunday evening, as always, is my friend Michael Leboff. And Mike, I'm going to be straight up with you and our listeners. I am feeling very salty today. The Islanders, we're going to talk about three games, but the game that they lost Saturday night in Vegas still has left a bad taste in my mouth. So I'm a little cranky today. If people don't feel that way, that's fine, but that's sort of where I'm trending at the beginning of this particular episode. How are you feeling right now about the Islanders after a week in which they had one great game, one sort of, I don't know, game where they got a point at least, and then one game that they really kind of missed a great missed opportunity, so to speak, but we'll dive into. Where are you at right now with the New York Islanders?
Yeah, I think the words missed opportunity are probably appropriate. At the same time, they it's hard to be mad at the three games that we saw. Like getting 3 points, I think was about what you'd ask for, maybe four, given where they were in all those games. Um, in terms of like the actual blowing a lead and they played pretty well against Vegas until they stopped playing well. And they did play well against Arizona. Uh, the thing is, like, it in a weird way, we haven't moved the script forward at all in this season. It's the same. The Islanders' place in this playoff race is the same as basically where we left it last week when we were like, okay,
Yep.
like they can do three things here. They could lose ground, they can gain or put distance between them and the chasing pack, or they can just hold serve. And it feels a little bit like they held serve here, which it's it's hard. It's frustrating for a couple of reasons, um, and it's also encouraging for other reasons. And at the same time, I you look around, not just the Islanders kind of radius, but the league at large. And I think you're still okay with where the Islanders are, um, given their circumstances right now and where they're at in their schedule. I think they're still in a good position. They've got a couple points up on Washington, who I don't expect to hang around much longer. Same with New Jersey. They're 2 points up on Jersey, who I do expect to hang around. They're tied with Philly. I think we're starting to see Carolina separate themselves from this mushy middle and maybe make a charge at the Rangers spot. And then you look like behind them, and it's the same song and dance that we talked about last week, which was there's a scary group of teams right behind those Capitals, like the Lightning, the Penguins are right there. And the Islanders had a chance to at least put those teams not away, right? There's still way too much
Right.
time left
Oh
in the
yeah.
season, but
Right.
but at least like just they can be backburnered for uh, the the next couple weeks, and they didn't get to do that. So now it's more scoreboard watching this week, um, and I was kind of hoping that we could get away from it, but we're not going to.
Yeah.
This team is just going to drag us, through the hot coals the entire way here. So yeah, we're everyone. I don't want to say buckle up because everyone is already buckled up. I'd actually advise you to unbuckle and get out.
That would be the smart thing to do. But we've never been one for that sort of thing to unbuckle. If we did, we wouldn't have been here this long. But we're going to dive into all those games and all those twists and turns that Mike just mentioned. But remember that we are on Patreon at patreon.com/Islanders Anxiety. Ad-free episodes, bonus podcasts, written posts, and a ton more. In fact, we're getting ready to do our mailbag episode tomorrow night. So you can only hear that at patreon.com/Islanders Anxiety. Sign up today. Okay, let's go all the way back and start with a game that is also a bit of a missed opportunity, but they did get a point there. If the Islanders and Avalanche never end up playing in the Stanley Cup final, the Islanders would get swept, but they would definitely set whatever the NHL record is for having the most leads in a series in which you lost in four straight games. Because once again, the Islanders had a bunch of leads in this game and didn't hang on to any of them. Semyon Varlamov started the game, was pulled mid-period for Ilya Sorokin. He's still out. Ken Appleby is up and has been up for the rest of the road trip. We don't know what Varlamov's status is, and we won't find out until he's, either next season or he's just back playing for the Islanders. That's how it works. Uh, Pierre Engvall came back after his scratch, scored a really nice goal. Who's first point in 11 games, if I'm not mistaken. But then Devon Taves tied it 30 seconds later, and it was all Avalanche until Brock Nelson scored a power play goal late to give the Islanders a 2-1 lead. All of a sudden, they have a 3-1 lead. Simon Holmstrom scores, and you're like, oh, wow. Are they going to actually pull this out? But no, they started to play like assholes. Valerie Nichushkin early in front. Jonathan Drouin from the slot. I didn't even know Jonathan Drouin was even on the Avalanche. And here he is. All of a sudden, he breaks into the slot
Oh
and he
man,
scores a
you
beautiful
you
goal.
missed the whole the discourse over the summer about Drouin reuniting with his junior teammate Nathan McKinnon,
Oh,
while Connor Brown reunited with his junior teammate Connor McDavid
yeah.
it was like that was a
I
during
guess,
the doldrums of the summer. There was a
yeah.
good fortnight of
Oh my
talk
gosh.
about junior teammates
Yeah.
and all that kind of stuff. So
I
I'm
guess I
I'm
did.
I'm glad you missed it, honestly, because it would have driven you up a wall, because it drove
Yeah.
me up a wall.
I guess I did. I wonder where I
And
was. That would
y-
explain why Connor Brown gets so much publicity out of Edmonton.
yeah,
'Cause I was like, what is the
I
big
don't think
deal,
he
man?
scored yet this season, Connor
No,
Brown.
he was
Although,
hurt
but
for a long
but
time.
he yeah, it was that the entire mid July to August podcast circuit was
Oh
talking
my
about
gosh.
the junior relations
Yeah.
reunited, or I should say the junior reunion tour, and of course, where's Tomas Tatar? The most
Yes.
important player in the NHL for like 6 weeks in the summer was Tomas Tatar, who signed with the Avalanche and was traded 3 weeks
Yeah.
later. It was
That
just
that I remember. The Tatar thing I remember. The rest of it I didn't. I guess I just
yeah.
turned my brain off because the Islanders the
If
offseason
you
was
were
so
a new
quiet.
fan and you were like, hey, like I'm getting
Yeah.
into hockey, what's the news podcast I should listen to? And you,
Yeah.
you handed over the news podcast, you would have been like, man, this Tomas Tatar
Yeah.
guy is he, like, where is he on like the NBA scale? Is he
Yeah.
like Giannis, or is
Yeah.
he Luka Doncic? Like, because the way they're talking about this guy, he must be
Right.
amazing.
Yeah. Well, that's like TJ Oshie. If you only watched NBC Sports for hockey, TJ Oshie is the most important player in the history of the NHL. And like, the American hockey version of Gordie Howe, I guess. I don't know. It's weird. But I'm glad I missed all of that. But congratulations to Jonathan Drouin for resurrecting his career with the Avalanche, I guess, and getting this beautiful goal that helped the Avalanche come back and tie that game. Then Alexander Romanov scored a goal off of Jack Johnson's skate to make it 4-3 Islanders. And then the third period started, and the Islanders were just hanging on for dear life. And then two things happened. One, Cale Makar had a broken stick shot that just happened to land right on the tape of Nathan McKinnon, who passed it over to Valerie Nichushkin, who was standing in front, unmolested, untouched, no goalie there. Ilya Sorokin was way out of position, scores pretty easily. And then a play that I know I haven't forgotten. I know you have not forgotten. Who listening to this has forgotten. With about 20 seconds to go, Cal Clutterbuck has the puck. He's skating towards the Avalanche zone. He gains the red line. He can just dump it into the Avalanche zone and kill, 10 seconds, 8 seconds, something like that, out of 20, half the time remaining. Instead, he tries a pass to, I believe, JG Pageau. That pass is picked off. It ends up on the stick of Nichushkin, who gets a grade A scoring chance. Ends up being does not score on the chance, but he ends up drawing a penalty. It was on Scott Mayfield. The period ends. We go to overtime. 30 seconds into overtime, while on the power play, Nathan McKinnon scores, game over. And this was a stunning development. Like you said earlier, it was hard to be too mad because the Islanders did get a point out of it. Anything really more than that, expecting anything more than that out of this game probably would have been, a little bit naive. But this was again a game in which the Islanders had leads and they just chose to not to do anything with them. To just be like, okay, we're good. And then just let one of the best teams in the league, if not the best team in the NHL, just absolutely tee off on them, trying to give them back the lead. And then, listen, killing a penalty in overtime is a fool's errand. Like, it's very, very, very difficult. So I'm not surprised that Nathan McKinnon scored. But the way that final 20 seconds went down and then the overtime goal just left me feeling really, really, really unsatisfied and very disappointed. And yeah, it's great to get a point. They had, lost in Pittsburgh 2 nights earlier. So this was the first game of 2024. But this was not a game that I don't think was most people were happy about, despite the point. What did you think of this one? and particularly that sort of ending sequence.
I think you could have been mad at a lot of different, uh, entities after this game. You could definitely been mad at the Islanders. You could have been mad at, the officiating. You could have been mad at, Cal Clutterbuck or the coach. You could have been mad at, just the general the way hockey goes.
Mm,
You can be mad at those things. I don't think you could have been mad about the game, the result almost, if that makes sense. Like getting a point out of that game was pretty impressive to
mm,
me. Once again, like the Islanders go to that game. Uh, they're they're underdogs. They are traveling across the country. The Avalanche were rolling at the time. I think they still are, and I thought the Islanders they played the only way that they could have played that game, which was to bend, not break, and be
mm,
clinical, and they were. Like, the every chance the Islanders had it to score, they definitely got some good bounces.
mm,
They got some bad bounces too,
mm.
but, they got some good bounces, and they kinda cleaned them up. Uh, and then you could have definitely been mad at the hockey gods, maybe more than anything, because you I think the image of the season for me so far, if you were to take a still picture image of to sum up the Islanders season, would be the uh the broadcast image of Simon Holmstrom lifting Robert Bortuzzo to his feet and helping him off the ice with like the scoreboard
Yeah.
in the corner, like the score bug in the corner showing the Islanders and Avalanche, and I think they were up like a goal at the time or whatever. Uh, because I don't think you could come up with two players who entered, opening night in the NHL at almost polar opposite ends of the NHL spectrum than
Right.
Simon Holmstrom and Robert Bortuzzo, and here they are, one helping the other over. It was my friend said, it reminded him of the scene, like a scene from Band of Brothers when like the 2 guys who maybe didn't, not that they don't get along, but,
Right.
they come from different backgrounds. You got maybe like the Jewish guy from the Bronx, and
Mm.
he's being helped by, like, the guy from Tennessee, and he's
Yeah.
being helped through the forest of, like, Bastogne or something after he catches shrapnel or something like that. Because I that image just will is burned into my mind now,
Mm.
because this team and this season has brought those 2 players together,
Yeah.
and not only together, like, that could be the end of Robert Bortuzzo's season and who's helping him off the ice, but
Right.
Simon Holmstrom, in this game in Colorado, that ended up going completely bonkers. So,
Mm.
the there was a lot of kind of weird magic, at play in this game, and I thought that the Islanders, like they like I said, they caught some good breaks, but they definitely caught some bad breaks. And I wasn't mad that they got a point out of it. I mean, Varlamov gets hurt 10 minutes in,
Yeah.
um, then Bortuzzo, then the Islanders just holding on for dear life. It felt like Dobson and Romanov played that entire game.
Yeah.
It felt like the Avalanche had the puck the entire game. But I was like, I left it thinking that's a point that I think you might look back on, later this season and be like, "Whew, man, thank God we held on."
Yeah.
That said, the the I think that it's very fair to be upset with how, the Islanders saw that game out, and the fact that, for once again, this team, there are, and every team does this too. This is like not just an Islander specific thing, but had Pierre Engvall not got that puck deep, or Simon Holmstrom, or if God
Oh
forbid Oliver Wahlstrom
oh
didn't
my
get
god.
that puck deep at the end, Oliver Wahlstrom would have been, like, God, he could have.
Mhm.
I
Yeah.
shudder to think what the Islanders would have done. Sent him to
Mm.
like the Federal Hockey League or something. And then, but for some reason, like, Clutterbuck gets a pass, and it's another reminder that this team, the the one of the big trends of the season, although he claims it's not a trend, is the Islanders blowing leads,
Mm.
and they still keep going to the same formula,
Yep.
to defend these leads,
Yeah.
and it just keeps not working. And parts of it not working are players like Cal Clutterbuck, whose sole purpose for
Mm.
existence, and I think Clutterbuck's actually been pretty good this season overall, like a solid B.
Mm.
Um, it's just say if he was on the Toronto Maple Leafs, he would have had like 8 or 9 different Sportsnet articles written by Luke Fox Jukebox about his season so far.
Yeah.
That kind of season he's having. But not that his sole purpose is to be able to make that play and make the right decision there.
Mm,
Knowing that there's 20 seconds left, knowing who's on the ice with him, knowing the team they're playing against, knowing the situation. They've just been bombarded. They need to get this point. And he doesn't do it. And it just mums the word after that. Like
mm.
there's no Cal Clutterbuck's healthy scratch coming.
Yeah,
Whereas other players it happens. And I know that's not specific to the Islanders, but it ends up costing them because they take the penalty because they're chasing the puck after he turns it over
yeah,
inexplicably.
yeah,
Um, so yeah, that was frustrating. Obviously, the officiating was a little dicey there too, but
yeah.
yeah,
I'm gonna.
that's why I left that game. I was like happy. I had to like compartmentalize how I felt. Like I was happy they got a point against the Colorado Avalanche, but I was also mad at specific Islanders
Yeah.
for different reasons.
I have a whole thing on both the refs and Cal Clutterbuck in a little later when we talk about the Vegas game, but I'm definitely right with you. It was a curiously, I thought, officiated game, but I thought, yeah, Cal's play there. Listen, maybe the Islanders still lose in overtime. And they still end up getting a point, but just it's another self-inflicted wound in a season or a half season right now full of them. And it
Right,
didn't need to happen that way, especially when with a guy you trust, like you said,
right.
a guy who's been trusted to be in those situations
Yeah, he's the his MO is not
before.
self-inflicting the team,
Right.
and
Right.
that it just doesn't sit right with me
Yeah.
that, uh, not even like, whatever, you don't have to scratch him or whatever, but that it's just it's more that that they're gonna go back to him, and they
Yeah.
didn't have to against Arizona or Vegas 'cause the the game the game state didn't call for them to, see out a game to the finish line, but, that, if the Islanders are up 3-2 against the Canucks on Tuesday night,
Mm.
there's a minute and a half left, the Canucks pull the goalie, you know exactly who he's sending over the boards, and
Yep.
I just wanna be like, "Don't put your good players out there." Matt Barzal didn't play the last 5 minutes of this game.
Yes. Well, he wasn't particularly good in that
Yeah.
game either.
No, he wasn't,
Right.
but it's crazy that, like, we talked
Yeah.
about last week that he has no problem shortening the bench
Right.
in these situations,
Mm.
and in the opposite goes when the Islanders are chasing the game, like, he's still
Yeah.
putting the
Yeah.
Islanders need goals, and Matt Martin and Clutterbuck and Cizikas are still getting regular shifts.
Yeah.
I think that's the stuff that's gonna make Islander fans, like, skin crawl a bit with
Mm.
the way the coaching's going, but,
Yeah, and it goes
uh
back to what you're saying, like, Barzell gets disciplined despite being the team's best player and now also representative, and Cal Clutterbuck he just skates back to the bench, and I can't imagine Lambert even said anything to him.
yeah,
Like, "Hey, man, what are you doing?" Like, what? Nothing. So it's just the same kind of thing. But yeah, so I wrote down lucky point. Alexander Georgiev made 18 saves in the game. I'm surprised he even made that many because I mean the Islanders barely crossed into the Avalanche zone for half the game. But definitely a good point, a lucky point. But had certain things not been done or been done, I should say, maybe we're talking about 2 points and an enormous win, but we are not. But it's Colorado's a tough place to play. So we move on to Arizona, which is a weird place to play. Mullet Arena. If you were watching at home like I was, man, that camera angle, boy, that's weird. It's immediately like this is weird. There's something weird about this setup here. But it was loud, and if you are one of the Islanders fans that were at Mullet Arena in that game, we heard you. Good job. You turned the place into sort of UBS West, which was really, really cool. And my notes here, so it was a 5-1 win, which was great, and clearly the best game of the week. And my notes here say dominant first, asshole second, dominant third. That's really kind of how the game played out. They were fantastic in the first. They were up 2-0. Bo Horvat in the slot on the power play was a beautiful goal. Mike Riley, his third goal of the season, after Barzell stole the puck in the offensive zone. Beautiful. Couldn't have asked for a better period. Second period, the exact opposite. 13-6 were the shots for Arizona. They took back-to-back penalties. I think one of those was Clutterbuck too, if I'm not mistaken. I think he might have taken the second one. Nick Schmaltz makes it 2-1, and you're like, I can't believe they're going to lose these guys. Yes, the Coyotes are in the playoff picture. Yes, they're not that terrible, whatever. They got some guys, but come on, really? We're doing this now? But, give the Islanders credit. They came out and they played a dominant third. Lee, beautiful goal after Barzell forced a turnover, makes it 3-1. Gauthier almost goes coast to coast makes a wrister, scores on a wrist shot. Not a great goal by Connor Ingram, if we're being honest, but hey, we'll take it. And then Horvat on a 2-on-0, almost a 3-on-0, gets his second of the game, and that's how it ended 5-1. Sorokin needed to be very good, particularly in the second period. He came out with 25 saves, but he looked great. Yeah, the shots were 14-4 Islanders in the third. So, you know, if if they were dominant in periods like they were against these Coyotes, then the asshole periods that they play would be a lot easier to take. A lot of times that asshole period comes in and it hangs around for a while, and they never really get back to the sort of dominant period that they would have had, before. But in this case, it worked out for them, and they ended up with a pretty easy win, maybe the easiest win of the season. When it's 4-1 and 5-1, you're able to kind of take the hands out, your foot off the gas and enjoy it, especially when it's late at night. It's nice. So this was a fun one. Again, hearing all the Islanders chants and stuff made it even more fun, and it was great. And I hope that it was more of this. But again, for me personally, I could not forgive that asshole second period. Like and I even tweeted at some point, if you're ever wondering what we mean when we say playing like assholes, this is what we mean. Like there's just tons of turnovers that are, at one point somebody had the puck. I think the Schmaltz goal, I think I might be making a mistake, but like the Schmaltz goal happened because somebody had the puck in the corner and just kind of, got control of it and then just sort of kicked it out into the middle of the ice where nobody was there. Like it's never pushing the pace, never paying attention to where the puck is going, just sort of lazily going back and getting it. All of a sudden there's a guy there on the other team who's taking it. It's that kind of stuff. And it doesn't need to happen. You dominated this team in the first period. Why are you playing like this? And it's very frustrating. But again, this was the best game they played all week. I knew that. What did you think of this one?
Yeah.
Coyotes?
And one of the best games they played all season, I think,
Absolutely.
which is funny to think about, because it went, like you said, from a really strong first to, and they a lot of assholery in the second there, and then really strong third period, and the third period team that we we've been waiting for
Mm,
this whole season. Like I don't want to say that um they didn't like push the pace. I don't feel like, but they just when they had opportunities to go seek a third or a fourth goal, they took them,
mm,
and didn't overcommit, didn't undercommit to it. It was just a balanced, good third period. I thought Sorokin was really good in this game.
mm.
And that this was as calming a win as the Islanders have had all season. It took I think a lot of pressure off the game in Vegas, getting 2 points out of this one, because you the scoreboard that night, the out of town scoreboard, was kind of a mixture of results. The Capitals went up 4-0 on the Penguins. It
Yeah,
gave that lead up and held on. I think that was that night. Well, one of those
yeah.
nights. But however it was, like by the time the puck was dropping on this game, it became pretty important for the Islanders to beat the
Mm,
Arizona Coyotes on a early January night, and they did it. They took care of business, and it turned the Vegas game. It turned the must win switch off. We everybody went to bed when you hit the lights that night. It was you're turning the must win game switch off on the Vegas game on Saturday night, which was hugely important to do,
mm.
because if the
Yeah,
Islanders needed 2 points out of that game,
yeah,
I would have that would have wrecked my entire weekend, and luckily it didn't. And I thought that this was a game that we've started we started to hear people rumbling like we need Horvat and Barzell to get back going again.
mm,
We need the Nelson line to start going again, and they all started to do that, I think, in the Colorado game, and then they definitely did it in the Arizona game, and almost imposed their will a bit, against the team that they are better than. So,
yeah,
uh, yeah, that was a full marks win for the Islanders, one of just a few
yeah.
this season.
Definitely. Oh yeah, definitely. I would agree. And you're right. That is a good point. Like they just took them, gave it up. They or whatever, let the Coyotes back in the second, and then just came out and decided to take it. And like that's hockey. Like if you're gonna do that, I get that. Like the game does ebb and flow, and teams are gonna have pushes and stuff. It's just the way that this team allows the other team to push back into the game with little or no resistance has gotten really, 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 really old. And now, a word from our sponsors. First is VintageIceHockey.com, where you can get t-shirts, hoodies, jerseys, mugs, and more featuring over 100 classic hockey logos. Vintage Ice Hockey also carries our Al Arbor and The Island merch, and our portion of the sales always go directly to the Center for Dementia Research. Use the code ANXIETY20 to save 20% off an order of 2 items. That is VintageIceHockey.com. Try wines from the Pinot Project. They offer a Rosé, a Pinot Grigio, and a Pinot Noir that was named a 2022 Top 100 Best Buy by Wine Enthusiast magazine. All are delicious, priced at less than $15 a bottle, and available at local wine shops and at UBS Arena. Learn more at thepinotproject.com. Please drink responsibly. But, in the Arizona game, they are better than the Coyotes. They decided to come out in the third period and take the game back, and they did, and good on them. But in the game against Vegas, things did not go their way. And like you, I thought they played pretty well in this game. The first period in particular was good overall. Yeah, they gave up a goal to Jack Eichel, again, off a turnover in the D zone, sloppy. But then Barzell scored a great goal that almost didn't look like a goal. Was waved off initially, and then they went to video review and they gave him the goal, which is kind of wild. I've never seen that happen for the Islanders, but he basically lifted it up off of over Logan Thompson's shoulder up into the top corner of the net, and it was really from behind the goal line. So it was pretty wild. Hopefully he ends up on the best goals of the week thing, and nobody else scores any more Michigan goals and get somebody else some shine here. And I thought, it's funny because I thought both teams were actually sort of equally as sloppy in this game. Vegas had been struggling. I forget what Brendan had said. They had lost 9 of 10 or 9 of 11 or something along those lines, 10 of 12, or they had just been very struggling. They obviously got shut out at the Winter Classic a couple weeks ago. So this was, again, an opportunity for the Islanders to go in there in the home of the defending Stanley Cup champions and take a game from a reeling opponent that had been, they were missing a couple of guys while Bill Carlson was out, Shea Theodore was out. This was a game the Islanders, with a little bit of discipline and a little bit of focus and some structure, could have taken. And, it's 1-1 after the first, and you're like, okay, well, things are okay. We can still get in here and take this. But with about 5 minutes to go in the second, that dream died. Again, I thought most of the period was okay. Anders Lee had a beautiful 2-on-1 with Horvat, hit the post. Brendan thought it was in, barely just missed it by an inch. But then the wheels just came off. Pavel Dorofeyev tipped in a Mark Stone pass. Stone was basically left alone by Sam Bolduc. Why you would leave Mark Stone by himself, I have no idea. But 2-1 Vegas. And then immediately after, Nick Waugh scores with Keegan Kolazar's enormous frame standing in front of Sorokin. They challenged it. I don't know why. They were never going to call this back. Yeah, he was in Sorokin's grill, but come on. He wasn't doing anything that Anders Lee hasn't done a million times in his career. So it's 3-1, and this is the worst. I forget what account it was. It might have been Isles blog. It was like that's the worst setup for a 10 o'clock start, right? When it's 3-1 going into the third, and you're like, man, if they were up, then it'd be one thing, or if they were getting destroyed, it'd be another thing. This is just like, oh man, I got to sit and watch this. Don't I? Fortunately, it was a Saturday night, but things were terrible. They because of the failed challenge, they were on the power play on the penalty kill, to start the third period. Eichel scores again. Matt Martin gets the Islanders back in at 4-2 by diving and shoveling the puck into the net. So good on him. But Nick Waugh just shot again at Sorokin, squeezed through his pads, an absolutely terrible backbreaking goal. Sorokin had been really good for the first half of this game, but and we haven't seen goals like this that often from him. But this was just a killer. I'm sorry, this is right out of the Rick DiPietro school of, really? Seriously, we're doing this now? And they were too sloppy to really mount a comeback. They never really, every time they would have the puck, Vegas would just take it. And again, Vegas was sloppy too. They weren't, I don't think the Islanders were totally outplayed in this game. They just sort of let Vegas have the game back. And okay, fine. You have a bad 5 minutes. You're down 3-1 going into the third. You can come back from that. I was fully expecting the Islanders to tie the game, or at least, come out and have a really good period. And they didn't. I know you're starting on the penalty kill. It sucks, but they just never really put the structure and the effort in to come in and, take the game back. Before I go off on a couple of rants here, what did you think of this Vegas game? Did you watch the whole thing, first of all?
Yeah, I actually went, as soon as they went up 4-1, I was done.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think the Islanders lost this game on one play. actually, I think, and that was Anders Lee hit the post on
Yeah.
that 2-on-1, and then Barzal misses the open net,
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
and that was that. Like, because the Islanders, I thought, were the better team up until that point, and they just didn't get that goal to put themselves head to nose in front, and put the pressure on Vegas. And who knows if how the game ends up going after, if Lee does score or Barzal scores there. And um, yeah, from that point on, I thought uh, it was pretty clear that the Islanders were going to lose that game. I kind of felt very comfortable going to bed. I
Mhm.
thought about it even after they went up 2-1. I was like, "Ah, that's probably going to be it." Um, and yeah, the challenge. The one thing I'll say about this was, how many times have you heard, listening to 32 Thoughts or just like the discourse about goaltender interference, that if somebody skates into the crease, and Kolasar, man, he was barely in the crease. So I
Yeah.
think
Barely.
that's like the thing that was a little iffy about the challenge. But if you go in the crease on your own, it's almost like an automatic, the goal comes off the board.
Yeah.
And then this one doesn't, and we won't hear about it anywhere else. Like, it won't, this is it. It's like it'll happen in a vacuum. So don't expect anyone to be like, I'm trying to figure out why that one didn't count. Um, and I thought that this game was just, it was on the Islanders' stick. Like, if the talking about scoreboard watching, if the Islanders were able to get something out of this game, all of a sudden, like, they're sitting kind of pretty going into this next
Yes.
week, and they end up fumbling the bag a bit, uh, and coming home now to play two tough games on home ice, right off the shoot. And that's a little concerning, just overall, because the Capitals ended up winning tonight.
Mhm.
As soon as that Vegas game ended, I was like, or I woke up in the morning and saw that it was officially a loss. I tried my best to just kind of thank my lucky stars that the scoreboards had gone the other way. Um, I think the Flyers were really the only team that ended up winning that the Islanders were rooting against. The Penguins lost, and to Buffalo in a pretty hilarious fashion. The Devils lost. The Devils now are without Jack Hughes again. Like, this
Yeah.
is, so that would, like, there was some positive momentum going, and it seems like every time it seems like the positive momentum is threatening to go from like a snowball into big, you know base of a snowman size snowball for the Islanders. It just doesn't. Like, they
Yeah.
just kind of take a step back, and this was a really good opportunity to do that, to
Yeah.
put a little bit of separation in between them and a few teams, and they just weren't able to do it.
Mm.
And like I said on about that Avalanche point, like, this is one that I think you can almost look back on in a weird way, because it feels pretty forgettable.
Mm.
But had that lead goal gone in, and the Islanders get 2 points, like, I think in a couple weeks you could be like thinking back, if the Islanders are scuffling a bit, be like, who knows what
Mm.
happens if the Islanders end up getting something out of Vegas. But yeah, I think all in all, the Sorokin conversation, I think, is kind of tough to have,
Yeah.
because in a weird way, it's gonna sound strange to say this, but he's playing worse than he was last year. But I think he's been more valuable to the team this year than he was last year,
I mean,
because
their defensive note is noticeably worse,
it's
and so
notice he's facing more
yeah.
shots than anybody in the league. They showed that stat in the Avalanche game,
Mm.
where it's like he was number 1 and Georgiev was number 2, and Sorokin had played like 6 fewer games than Georgiev or something. And they, like, worked out the math that he's had Georgiev played had Sorokin played as many games as Georgiev, he would have been like roughly 180 shots clear of
Right.
him. And uh, he's had the hardest workload of any goaltender in the league, and I don't think that there's anybody who can come close,
Mm.
that's on a team that's contending. So uh, it's when you're facing the amount of volume and the amount of scoring chances he has been playing, just naturally, like, the probability of a soft goal is going up, like,
Yeah.
because this guy's just going to be exhausted,
Yeah.
um, with the way that they're playing. And uh, there's no. This isn't me saying, "Oh, the Islanders should go get James Reimer or something," because I don't think they should if Varlamov is fine. But and nor do I think that the Islanders needed to have a third goalie in waiting
Mm.
for a situation like this, because the 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 cold reality is, if the Islanders need Ken Appleby to play games, it's already
Yeah,
over.
it's too
Like, you
late.
know,
It's
like
too late. Yeah,
it's not it's like saying, "Man, the Oilers should go out and get a third center, but just in case McDavid and Draisaitl get hurt," you know? Like, you know,
right.
the team is built around this tandem, and the backup is the security blanket to the number 1 goalie. Like, it's
Mhm.
not this isn't a situation where you can be I think you can be critical that the Islanders didn't shore up the 3rd goalie position
Yeah,
because, hell, like, look around the league, please.
yeah,
Please just look around the
uh,
league
yeah,
and think about how many of these teams would give up 10 draft picks to have one of these 2 goalies with them.
right.
Like, the Islanders are not in a bad goaltending situation. They are, frankly, maybe in the 1 or 2 best
Yeah,
goaltending situations in the league,
yeah.
even with the way Sorokin is playing and Varlamov hurt. So,
I mean, think about any other team losing their backup goalie. Most people would be like, "Well, I guess whatever, it's fine. We'll call up some guy from the
yeah.
AHL." And like with the Islanders, like, "Oh my god, we're calling up a guy from the AHL. Jesus Christ, how are we going to do this?" Like, because they were so used to having two really really good goalies, but
Yeah.
you know,
And yeah, and I think that's a good way to almost to add on to that. Another good way to think of it is if you see, Jonathan Quick pull up or something,
mm,
you're not like, oh man, like the Rangers are one Igor Shesterkin injury away from being in a big pickle here. You're like,
mm,
whatever. Like they're just gonna call up some guy from the AHL, and in a couple weeks, Quick will be back, and
mm,
Shesterkin will just play until then. Like it's not gonna be a big deal.
yeah, I don't know. Well, I mean, the Jonathan Quick thing is insane. What's happening over there? I don't want to talk about it.
Yeah, I
Hopefully,
don't
he stops very shortly, but.
it looks like it might be. So
Good, good. Here's why the big reason why I'm salty tonight is this Vegas game, and it's a couple of things. One we talked about is the missed opportunity, and this team has racked up more missed opportunities in this half season than I could possibly count. This whole season has been about missing opportunities and having a chance to stake your claim, take the points, jump on a wounded opponent, and they just don't. And yes, they're still in a wild card spot right now as we record this. They're 2 points up on Jersey and Washington. They're 2 points behind Philly, like Mike said. No, excuse me, they're tied with Philly, but they're behind them, I guess, because of goal differential. I'm not sure. The Caps goal differential, by the way, is minus 23, so they got a while to make up there. And the Devils are having some injury problems. So, maybe this week the Islanders stay where they are, or they get back into third place or second place. I mean, they're only where are they behind? They're only 3 points behind the Hurricanes. So a good week for the Islanders and a bad week for the Hurricanes. All of a sudden they're back in second place. So like things aren't, that terrible right now. But like you said, if they won this game and they come home from this, it was really a 4-game road trip because of the game in Pittsburgh. But like if you were telling me that you went out to Colorado, Arizona, and Vegas, and you came home with 5 points out of those 6, that is one of the best road trips we've seen in years, right?
right,
Like, and you're putting yourself clear of these teams, and you're solidifying yourself before a tough week at home against some really tough competition, and they just didn't do it. And I get it. You're on the road. Maybe they were out at the Sphere the night before. I think Brendan was mentioning they were doing a thing. Maybe somebody was seeing Penn and Teller the night before. I don't know. Pierre Engvall was out here skating up a storm, came to nothing, didn't score at all. And just the opportunity was there for you to have a spectacular road trip and really make life easier on yourself, make people maybe sit up and take notice for a second, or at least you notice where you are in the standings. And they just couldn't be bothered to do it. They were fine for half a game, and then they just fell apart and never bothered to try and get back into it. My bigger thing, so that's problem number one. My problem number two is the challenge. And like here's the thing. The challenge was dumb. They were never going to call that goal back, but it leads me to a bigger problem that's bothered me for a while. And I don't know if other people are going to agree with me, but this is how I feel. So I apologize. Lane Lambert complaining about the refs all game long gives off extreme loser energy. Like I hate this. I hate after that challenge was ended, he yelled, "That's a fucking joke," probably 10 times in a row. Like Rain Man. He was just going on and on. That's a fucking joke. It's a fucking joke. Yeah, okay, it's a joke. But like he was mad at the refs before that for something and like seething and they always go to whenever there's a penalty, they go to him and he's always just mad and stomping his feet and carrying on a tantrum. We were giving it to Rod Brindamore a couple of weeks for doing this. And as I said, I think Brindamore has conditioned Hurricanes fans to feel the same way, and refs are afraid to call penalties in Carolina. I truly believe that. But when you're Lane Lambert and your team isn't getting the benefit of any call, like it's not like they get a ton of calls, right? I mean, they got one penalty called for them in the rest of that Vegas game, and it was because somebody cross-checked Matt Martin in the back and smashed his face into the boards. Like they had to give you a penalty, right? It's not like this is working and the refs are like, oh man, maybe he's right. Maybe we should tighten up the game. He just looks like a huge dork yelling and screaming at the refs, and I don't want that from the ref. I get that from the players because they're there and they're in the heat of the moment. But I want a ref that's like, I mean, I want a coach who's like, you guys got to calm down, focus on the game, get back to our game plan, and get back in here and get some goals and get us back into this thing. I don't want the coach ranting about the refs, and then John McClain has to come over and clearly tell him stop yelling at the refs. Like, I'm assuming that's what he's saying because that's
Yeah.
what it
Well,
looks
he's
like.
got Lou in his ear. Lou.
Right? Yeah. Like I don't know. Am I the only one who feels this way? Do you feel this way? Like this is extremely embarrassing loser behavior. Like what are you doing? It's not helping. You're not helping the team at all. If anything, you're making it worse. I don't know. It just bothers me. I hate
Yeah. I think it there's a lot has to do with the way he looks too.
that.
There's something funny about
Right.
Jack Capuano. You know, it's
Mm.
very Costanza-y
Yeah.
almost, when he was getting mad at the refs, and we've talked about before that there was a, kind of like a groundswell of criticism about Capuano not sticking up for his
Yeah.
team to the refs, and
He didn't really do it that much.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, Trotz was the same way, and he had
Right.
that quote, like, he had a quote for everything, and,
Yeah.
Doug Weight obviously would sometimes just, like, get on the ice and go full Paul Marner on the refs. Um, so if we've seen touch them all. I feel like Ted Nolan and the refs would just like dine out after
Yeah.
games and talk about the
Right.
game and
Well, Barry
um,
used to say he only yells at the refs if he knows he's right.
right.
So most of the time he just would be like, all right, well, whatever.
And you know what's funny too? Like I can think back to Trotz's tenure and I can remember like Lambert being the guy who was more uh
Yes. Right.
vocal and he did a lot more
Yeah.
gesticulating
That
than
was
Trotz did.
Waite's job under Capuano. Was like
Yes.
Cappy was kind of quiet. All right, just forget about it. Get back to the game. And Waite was like a barking dog. Like he was
Yeah.
constantly like yelling at the refs.
Yeah, it's Steve Sterling, the rest would just skate over and be like, "Oh, is the real head coach sick today? Are you just taking over for the game, or
Yeah.
what's going? Is this
Right.
like an e-bug
Yeah.
situation? Because I've never seen you before."
Right.
And,
Is your son here? Is he coaching the team? No, no, it's me. Oh, it's you. Oh, all right. Well, I guess we'll get back at it. But yeah, this
um,
this just really bothers me. I don't know.
yeah, no, I think it's fair too because he hasn't earned
No.
he hasn't earned that right, and
Right.
and I this is I talked about he's not doing himself any favors with the way he manages the bench, and this is another
Right.
way. Like
Yeah.
we're rooting for you, man, and we will
Yeah.
back you, but you got to kind of do it the right way.
Yeah.
And right now he seemed to have lost the plot a little bit, and
Definitely.
uh, like I said, his look definitely doesn't help things
Mm.
because the slick back hair, and y- it'd be one thing too if he was allowed to say more to
Mm.
to the media and be like, well, what was going on there
Mm.
and be have like the freedom that Paul Maurice has
Right.
or something like that. But so I think that maybe hurts his cause a
Mm.
bit. But I also feel like it's also he picks his spots so weird. Like
Mm.
this guy, like, and it's not just the arguing with the refs. I just feel that Lambert, the Engvall scratch, for example, like
Yeah.
he picks his spots to do his hands-on coaching at the wrong time. It's almost like a guy who's like, well, I know I'm supposed to do this at some point.
Mm.
I'm gonna do it now, and everyone's like, no, 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 no. You are supposed to do it at some point, but not after like a comprehensive win over a team that's we're in the playoff race, and then we're playing another team that we're in the
Mm.
playoff race with again too. Or in your
Yeah.
situation here, like, yeah, you don't want to be doing this right now when we're about to go on a penalty kill. We're going into the intermission, by the way, in a couple seconds, so it's not like it's
Right.
going to matter all that much. But you can get to the refs in the intermission in the locker room perhaps, and not show them up and hurt our cause for the third period. But yeah, he just doesn't seem to have a full grasp on timing
Yeah.
and how to use the tools at his disposal
Mm.
yet. So
Yeah. But that's a perfect segue into my other bigger issue, my third reason that I'm still salty about this game. And we talked about him a few minutes ago, Cal Clutterbuck. And I think Clutterbuck is having an okay season. Martin was back in the lineup, what we said, scored a goal, got his face planted into the boards. Casey Zizekas started the game, getting his face plastered against the board. So it was a really eventful night for the fourth line. But here's the thing: we are grateful for this line, and we, I think, are in a way blessed. I know there's a lot of people out there that don't feel this way about the fourth line, but like, we have been incredibly lucky to have had this one line together for so long that has done so many great things for the Islanders and had played such a huge role and has been, there for this incredible run that they were on, not too long ago. But here's the thing: those guys are not the same guys as they are now. These guys are all a lot older. They are nearing the end of their careers, if not playing the final seasons of their careers. And they are given carte blanche, as you said. They are given extra shifts. The bench is never shortened to the point where they're not out there, no matter what the situation is. But instead of being mad that they're out there late in the game, I'm choosing to be mad that they're out there to start the game. It used to be we started the game with the fourth line because they set the tone. That's why we call them the identity line. They come out, they start banging bodies, they start doing stuff, and it kind of bleeds through the rest of the Islanders, and you kind of get the rest of that residual effect throughout the rest of the period. That may be true or may have been true years ago, but I don't think it's still true today. And I would rather, and like, the fact that we're sort of like beholden to this. I don't know if people can check for me. I don't know if Cap Friendly has this information. Like, is it written in their contracts that they have to start every game? Like, can we not start a game with Barzell, Lee, and Horvat, the team's real best line, or Engvall, Nelson, and Palmieri, who I'm going to talk about in the second half? Like, I don't know why these guys keep starting games when their identity is different than what it was a couple of years ago. And I don't think they need to. And I think that's just sort of, again, that's sort of, we're beholden to these old ideas for no reason. And I just think it, like you said, it's just not using
Yep.
the tools, available to you in the best possible way.
It's the simplest thing too.
Yeah, I know.
It's the simplest thing. Just don't do it. And I don't think that, like you said, I don't think that these guys are uh their whole point of their existence and their ethos is uh the we over me. So if
Right.
you scratch Matt Martin and he pouts about it, well, that kind of deflates the whole purpose of Matt Martin, right? He's supposed to be the guy that's, yeah,
Right.
I'll sit for a couple weeks if it's for the better of the team. Or Cal
Mm,
Clutterbuck, yeah, if you don't think I should be the guy out there killing this game off, then go for it.
mm,
Because put the team ahead of me. That's me here. And the the Islander fan base this was a big talking point for here, at least on the island, going into last season, Lambert's
mm.
first season. And I think he was asked directly uh, by somebody, like, "Are you willing to chop up this line? Are you willing to
Right.
deviate from the plan?" And he
Mm,
said yes.
mm. Well,
Um, right? And
yeah.
do we have the exact quote there? Do you remember it? Because I feel like I felt like he was, and this is hypocritical because all I talk about is how GMs and coaches lie and teams lie to the media all the time. But
Yeah. I think
he
he
was,
did say something along those lines, but I don't remember the exact same
yeah, and but I
quote,
think
but
the quote itself was like, oh well, like he sees it, like he knows that
yeah.
this is not something that needs to happen. This isn't
Mm.
these aren't McDavid and Draisaitl
Right.
type players. This is
Mm.
uh and the the lack of willingness to deviate off the script, I think, has actually cost the Islanders points this season,
Yeah.
uh, which is frustrating because it's not a hard thing to do to be like, yep,
Right.
instead of 53, 17, and 15 on this shift with 30 seconds left in a game, we're down 5-on-6. We're gonna go with Horvat. We're gonna
Right.
go with Nelson, and we're gonna go with or whoever. Like we're gonna go Holmstrom with Horvat and Nelson.
Right.
Oh,
Yeah.
why would you go with those guys? Oh, because they've been our best players. Like
Mm.
they've
Yeah.
just that's what it is.
Like, what are they gonna
They're
do?
they're
Have a bad period? Like, we've
right.
seen them have a million bad periods this season. So,
It's
yeah.
yeah, it does drive me up a wall a bit. That the shift that I think we talked about on the last episode when they were down against the Penguins 2-1, and he sent them over the boards with like 2.5 minutes left. I was like, he's doing this just to make us mad at this point because it's just it drives me up a wall a bit.
Mm.
And it's not almost not fair to the players too, like
Yeah,
those 3
seriously.
guys because
Yeah.
and he doesn't play Martin I should say, like, he in those situations, it's usually Pajot with Cizikas and Clutterbuck,
Mhm.
and,
Yeah.
um but even so, like, you can just go Pajot, Horvat instead of Pajot, Cizikas, and all of a sudden you have a really, really good player out there, then you have a great checking center,
Right.
and you have, you put whatever winger you want out there, Holmstrom or whatnot, and then guess what? When those guys get tired, you can still go with Cizikas to be the
Yeah.
next center over the boards. Like, they don't need to be the focal point
Right.
uh,
That's yeah.
of the
It's it,
team. It's
and the same with killing penalties. Like it's
right,
always Cizikas and Clutterbuck first. Like
right.
why? Why are we doing this instead of going with the guys who Peugeot and Holmstrom who seem to have chemistry killing penalties too? So I don't know. I don't know, but it's frustrating. And again, it's exact what you just said. Like it's just not using your full capacity, your full arsenal when you could, and it's costing the Islanders points. And so far, they're still in it, but that remains to be seen how long they will be in it. And that's a perfect place for us to stop. We're going to come back on the other side and talk about the next couple of games, but we're also going to have a monumental announcement. So please hang around for the entire episode because we are going to announce something that you are going to want to hear about. It's not about the Patreon, it's not about patches. That time is over. There's a new monumental announcement. You're going to want to hear it. So we're going to get to it after we talk about the next couple of games. Okay. So meet us on the other side. Okay, so the Islanders have 3 games this week, and I'm going to go out on a limb and say that these are going to be 3 of the most annoying games they're going to play all season. Tuesday night, they are hosting the Vancouver Canucks. Thursday night, they are hosting, once again, the Toronto Maple Leafs. That is an ESPN game, unfortunately. I'm sorry, I don't make these rules. And then Saturday night, they are in Nashville, which is a place where they never win, really, frankly. And it is the first game against our old pal, Barry Trotz, in his new role as Predators GM. This is going to be like if you had vacation time coming up and you could go someplace, do it now because these games it's going to be irritating listening to these games. The Canucks, obviously, we've done the whole Horvat song and dance, but now they're going to do it here rather than in Vancouver. The Canucks are having a great season. They have 53 points. They're leading the Pacific Division. This is what they're the 4th time in the last 52 years the Canucks have been very good. So congratulations to them, I suppose. This is going to be a daunting game. They're kind of firing on all cylinders right now, which really sucks. And the Islanders can't afford to have any asshole periods, but I'm sure they're going to try anyway. The Leafs, we don't need to get into, although we will afterwards. We just did this song and dance again already. Thankfully, the John Tavares conversation, 1,000-point conversation is over, but that's not going to stop everybody from talking about him anyway. He's going to get booed, I'm sure. And the Leafs are also coming in having won a bunch of games in a row behind Martin Jones, who's their current goalie du jour. And then obviously the Predators are having a good season. And again, Nashville is not a place where the Islanders win a lot. And they're going to be talking about Barry. Love Barry. I'm sure he's going to say great stuff. They're going to try and make it out like, Lou is a big ogre. He fired Barry. Everything was terrible. The team has gone to hell, blah, blah, blah. And I'm sure Barry's going to say nothing but compliments about them. He loved his time here, yada, yada. He's going to go in the locker room, maybe give a big speech. Maybe we'll get our own version of you're going to have to go through the fucking island speech, to light a fire under the boys, even though he's working for the other team. So we'll see. These are 3 tough games, and frankly, the 2 after that against Minnesota and Winnipeg aren't any easier. They do get Chicago next Friday, which we'll talk about obviously next episode. But these are tough, and I don't know. I'm very nervous about them all. Yes, 2 of them are at home, which is great, but this team it gets back to what you were saying off the top. It's the same problems we've been talking about all season now. This team has the tools to win. They choose to not play, a portion of every game, and it has hurt them. And they're not utilizing their full arsenal, and it's become a problem. And if they don't do that against teams that can score a lot of goals, like the Canucks and Leafs, that's going to be a huge, huge issue. So 3 games, 6 points. I'm hoping for 2 out of these 3, but I'll be honest, it seems like a pretty daunting task ahead of us. What do you think of these 3 games coming up here?
Yeah. No idea. The Islanders get the Canucks on the second night of a back-to-back, which feels
Okay.
like the first time,
Yeah.
in a long time that the Islanders have caught the break. I think the last time that a team has played the Islanders and Rangers on consecutive nights, where the Islanders caught the the second night was, with Arizona,
Mm.
and that was in October, so it's been a
Yeah.
while, and,
That never works out for the Islanders anyway.
right,
So
um, and, I'm sure that the Canucks will throw us a curveball and be like, "Yeah, no, we're actually gonna play Casey DeSmith against the Rangers," and the Islanders will get Demko.
Sure.
Because it just, it feels like even when the Rangers catch a break, or get the short end of the stick, it ends up working in their favor in
Mm,
situations like this. I do have some, uh, confidence that they'll be able to win one of these 2 games here, and, I mean, they just have to beat the Predators. They have to.
yeah.
They've lost is it 9 in a row now or 11 in a row?
Oh,
Whatever it is
is
for
it?
them. Yeah, remember we talked about, this with, on our
Mm.
Weird Islanders episode
Oh,
about
Alex Doherty. Oh, yeah, you're
with
right. Yeah,
yeah, with
yeah.
JP Dumont about how, you think that you have bogey teams,
Mm,
and in our I mean, every team in the NHL is an Islanders bogey team in our minds, but the Predators, it's for real. Like, the
yeah.
Islanders are winless, I think, since 2016 or so, or 15
Feels
against
that
the
way, yeah.
Predators.
Yeah.
They went 0 for it when Trotz was coaching the Islanders, I remember. And so this is, uh that's just a game that it would just make me feel so much better about myself if they can just get those 2 points, because they just can't do
Mm,
it against this team.
yeah.
And yeah, the Leafs are, I would say the Canucks game is the one I have, like, the least conviction about either way.
Mm.
But I can tell you exactly what's gonna happen on Thursday. Like, the Leafs are close to signing William Nylander to
Oh,
this
yeah.
monster extension,
Mm,
and they're on a little bit of a streak here because they beat the Ducks and Sharks, so they,
mm.
th look out, here they come. And, Simone Benoit got the Alex Galchenyuk treatment that
Mm,
here's a scrap heap waiver claim, and
yeah,
he deserves an extension. Here
yeah.
we are,
Well,
30 games into his first
they
season.
fixed him. He's fixed. There you go.
Um, yeah, so there's that, and, yeah, so the Nylander thing is gonna be great because, if you remember, all summer, from the second the Panthers eliminated the Leafs,
Mm,
to the second this season started, the entire conversation was that there's no way that this team could keep the core 4 together this
mm,
season, that they're gonna trade one of these guys, whether it's Dubas or the next guy. There's no way that Marner, Matthews, Nylander, and Tavares are coming back. Matthews has to sign an extension anyways, so once
mm.
that happens, then they'll trade either Nylander or Marner. And we were laughing because we're like, yeah, okay, you say this every year. Every year you guys say this, and then they just bring them all back, and you guys get so excited about how there's just no way they could have let this guy leave for nothing or traded this guy. They got to keep these guys together and give it one more kick at the can.
Mm.
What did Luke Fox call them? The run it back Leafs.
Yeah.
3 seasons in a row now. Like, it's just, this is we're so they're gonna sign Nylander to this extension, and there's gonna be no, everyone's gonna be celebrating it like it's a great thing, and nobody's gonna bring up the fact that, if another team signs a winger to a monster contract like this when he's 27 or 28, they get, "Have you ever
Right.
seen an aging curve?" But with the
Mm,
Leafs, it's just you got to do it, and, yeah, there's going to be no talk about the ramifications of this extension. It's just going to be
mm.
parade down one Maple Leaf Plaza or whatever. And while everyone else is like, yeah, but that means you're just doing it again.
Yeah.
You're putting $11+ million on 4 separate forwards here, and,
Mm,
what what are you going to do with the rest of the team?
yeah.
So that's gonna be fun to deal with on Thursday. And yeah, there'll be a little, like, a smattering, a golf clap's worth of Tavares discourse, I would say, because
Yeah.
it's all been wrung out of the towel at this point. And,
Sure.
yeah, I would love to see one of his former teammates, just paste them into the boards or something. That would be nice. But,
Yeah.
um, yeah, I mean, I think that for me, I just want a little bit more clarity every week. It also is, personally complicating things because I'm going away,
Mm.
um, the following week, so I would love to go, uh, on my vacation with the Islanders not being a worry
Right.
while I'm trying to, um, have a vacation. Like, I don't
Mm.
wanna have to sit there and be like, "Well, I'm gonna have to pack my microphone because I need to sort this out."
Yeah, yeah, that would really suck. And now these 3 games have a huge, uh, there's a huge chance here that these 3 games are gonna ruin your vacation. I hate to break that to you, but, you know
Oh,
that.
yeah, no, I've already mentally kind of walked myself through
Right.
the exercise of, okay, the Islanders go 0-3 in this week. Ha just remember, like, it's the NHL, it's sports, it's not
Mm,
real. It's real life is here,
yeah.
trying to just enjoy family time,
Mm,
and I'm gonna fail at it. Like,
yeah.
that's the thing, like, I can go through this motion in my head a million times
Yeah.
and think I'm prepared for it, but I'll fail. I'll be pouty or something, sitting
Oh,
at
yeah.
dinner and be
Yeah.
pouty, and, Emily will look at me and be like, what gives? Like, you're a
Mm,
loser." And I'll be like, "I know. I am.
yeah.
But the Islanders lost 3 nights ago, and I still can't shake it."
Yeah.
They've
Oh, man.
lost to the Predators 10 games in a row. That's 10 games in a row that they've lost to a team that's been good and then mediocre,
Right.
then not so good,
Yeah.
in 10 in a row.
Yeah. Or having to explain to her that, yeah, this guy, William Nylander, just signed an $11.8 million extension with the Leafs, and then he scored 2 goals and an assist against the Islanders, and everybody's talking about
Yeah.
how he is.
There was a Sportsnet beat writer was in
Yeah.
it was in the Zamboni entrance
Yeah.
of the UBS arena, and he took the defibrillators off the wall and shocked
Yeah.
himself when Nylander scored his 3rd goal the other night.
And then of course the third on the list, and this is a deep cut. If you know what I'm talking about right now, you are definitely in the weeds as we are as well. It's like, the Canucks have this guy Andrei Kuzmenko. He was good last year. He's in the doghouse with the coach, and then they put him back in the lineup, and he had a monster game against the Islanders, and now they're talking about how they're going to trade him. And like, she would look at you like you're a crazy person.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, that would drive me up the wall.
Yep.
If that happens, if they put him back in the lineup, I think they put him back in the lineup already. And he has like a monster game against the Islanders, and it becomes like, oh, what are they going to get for Kuzmenko? Dude, I don't even know, because I don't. Nobody cares. Elliot. Let's start with the big question: Andrei Kuzmenko, and they go, hold on, nobody cares. Just trade the guy or don't trade the guy. Why are the Canucks always the center of these kinds of stories? You either
Yeah.
do it or you don't. We had to go with 7 months of Bruce Boudreau scuttlebutt for a year before they just finally fired the guy. Just fire the guy. You want to trade the guy, trade the guy, or just play him. I don't care. Just I don't need to hear this.
Yep. And then
Anyway,
it became the Shark Tank, where it was Elliot and Jeff hosted their own
yeah,
fan fiction version of Shark Tank with the Ottawa Senators up for
yeah,
sale. Week by week
yeah,
updates
yeah.
on the Ottawa Senators sale.
Right.
That was they got everyone was so geeked up about Ryan Reynolds, and
Yeah, right.
he just is
Snoop
not
Dogg.
even on the
Yeah.
radar anymore.
No, he's gone. He's gone. But
Yeah.
now it's all about quieting the waters. This is the thing, Jeff. Staios wants to quiet the waters. The players have told him there's too much noise. They've been telling us this noise story for 6 months. How much noise is there? If you don't like the noise, we could trade you someplace with no noise, right? There's no noise in Arizona. There's no noise in Chicago, or like, I don't know, or maybe those are bad
Yep.
examples.
Yep.
Minnesota
And
has no
and he also has mentioned a bunch of times too, which I love, is that and he's not the only one that he's like, thinks are, they're really tight-lipped around Ottawa now. I think
sure.
that the players kind of complained about how everything was leaking out of Ottawa
Mm,
under the previous regime, but now it's you can't get a word out of them. Yet
mm.
30 minutes of every news podcast is about the Senators, and they're talking about this. He went on Hockey Night Canada the other day. It was like, the
Yeah.
Senators are the most aggressive team in the market.
Yes.
It's
Yeah.
like, you just said 24 hours ago that nobody on this team is talking. Like, you can't get a word out of the Senators.
I
This
know.
it's outrageous. I think that there was back when the Tavares free agency stuff was happening, people thought that Darren Dreger was like his quasi agent
Yeah. Oh,
now.
yeah. It felt
You
like that.
remember
Yeah.
that? Like, yeah,
Yeah.
and he was for Marner as well. Like, he
Mm,
would just come on TSN and throw like, well, Marner's campus thinks they're getting like 11.7,
mm.
and Leafs fans would be like, no, they don't. Like, you're just saying that because you're friends with his dad,
Right.
and you're probably on the take or something.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
yeah, now it feels like every Canadian team outside of the Winnipeg Jets has these
Mm,
guys like just go out there and say something, just say that we're chumming the waters a bit,
yeah.
but also nothing gets out of our organization, so you don't know
Right.
what bait we're using.
Yeah. I also love the idea that the last place Ottawa Senators are being very aggressive. Oh, really? Well, they really need that playoff push
Well,
is just around the corner. They got to
that's
get
the other
into it.
thing, is like they talk about the season as if it's, and this is a complaint, the chief
Mm,
complaint that we have on this podcast about the state of the NHL media, is they talk about the season as if it's not happening.
right.
As
Yeah.
if the season that they wanted to happen before the season started, the Sabres are good, the Senators are good. Oh,
Mm,
look out, here come the Red Wings too, Elliot. Like, look,
mm.
The Hurricanes are just running roughshod. The Devils are the most exciting team. Connor McDavid has 160 points in 38 games, whatever. And then you're like, well, that's all well and good, but the real games are happening. The
Yeah.
Sabres are outside of the playoff picture. The Senators are in last place. Why are
Right.
we still talking about them like this?
Right. Well, because they're the most loose-lipped, tight-lipped organization in the
Yes.
entire NHL. That's why we're still talking about it. Because Steve Staios probably talks to Elliot Friedman every single day. So that's
Yep.
why we have to keep hearing about it. But
Yeah,
in
we
any
thought they
event,
were gonna go with the two-headed monster in the front office, but it's weird that, what they told us is not true. It's some
right, shocking.
Dave Poulin, another TSN guy, just, like, hops over the
Yeah,
counter to
yeah,
get a job there.
mm,
It's I've the Senators really I do feel for their fans. As I did
mm.
feel I meant to bring this up during the Coyote segment. I felt kinda bad that a couple Islanders beat writers were taking shots at
Mullet
the
Arena. Yeah,
yeah, like,
yeah,
guys,
right.
you're not a Rangers beat writer here. Like, you're coming from a team that just played in 3 different arenas for a little while there. Like,
Yeah, yeah. I made a joke that if the Islanders get to 10, everybody in the Arizona State food court gets double chili, which was obviously more of a joke about the double chili
right.
thing. Somebody was like, "Wow, you're making fun of them because they have arena problems." I'm like, I felt like saying, "No, I'm making fun of them because it's a double chili and the Islanders are up five. They have 5 goals on them, so it's kind of funny."
Yeah, no,
But
Andrew Gross seemed mad
yeah,
that they didn't, like, just set him up with "Hey, we're gonna play the Islanders in the old arena here so that this guy
yeah.
doesn't feel bad or something." But,
Yeah, it's a weird situation.
yeah,
Uh,
it's, the Senators fans, like, I do feel a little bad for
sure.
them, but at the same time, it's been
Yeah.
nice, to just to watch this unfold because,
Mm,
everybody just and myself included, just assumed that they were gonna be good, and,
mm,
a lot of people are still talking about them as if they are that team,
yeah.
which they're not, and
Yeah.
just like Devon Levi, man, he still remains to be one of the most interesting goalies, and, I was thinking Team Canada for him.
Right. Even though he's like in Rochester or now, right? Like something like that. But yeah, no, I know. And meanwhile, our guys get nothing, obviously, as always. Even though they are fascinating and frustrating and insane in their own
Yep,
right. And I just want to bring up one other thing real quick before we get on to our massive announcement. Looking at these games again, they are tough ones. The teams are good. The Predators too are good, and that is a place the Islanders have not won. So even though without the star power, it's still a tricky game. This would be a great week for two guys in particular to change the narrative of their seasons. And I'm talking specifically about Kyle Palmieri and Pierre Engvall. Engvall, again, was scratched. He hadn't had a point in 11 games. He got scratched. I wouldn't have scratched him myself, but I kind of get why. Came back, scored a great goal, was all over the ice in Vegas, but could not put the puck in the net. Palmieri right now he's fifth on the team in scoring with 21 points in 39 games, just 9 goals. I guess that means he's on pace for 18 or 19. He had 15 his first full year with the Islanders, 16 last year. Um, Engvall right now has 5 goals, 9 assists, 14 points in 37 games. These guys are obviously on a line with Brock Nelson. They are oftentimes the Islanders' best line. They make things happen and possess the puck, unlike any other line the Islanders really have outside of obviously Barzell and Horvat. And yet I find myself getting incredibly frustrated with them. They need to start putting the puck in the net. And I'm talking specifically about Palmieri. He's the net front guy on the power play, which has been good this year, but man, 9 goals in 39 games just isn't enough for me. I need something more. And Engvall, 5 goals in 37 games just isn't enough. These guys, it's great that they can possess the puck. They're valuable members of the team. I like having them. I love having, a short Italian guy from Smithtown playing for the Islanders. I like Palmieri, but I need more from these guys. And it's become very frustrating that Nelson has been great again, but he's the only guy on the line that's actually getting production. Everybody else is just sort of like making stuff happen without any kind of end result, and it's become very, very frustrating. And the Islanders are going to need these guys, and I don't know. I mean, I might be the only one who thinks this way. I know we've seen some criticisms of Sorokin, but like, to me, these guys are kind of skating. And what's funny to me is like you'll see people say like maybe they can get Jordan Eberle at the trade deadline, or maybe they can reacquire Anthony Beauvillier, who's hurt right now. And I feel like saying Palmieri is still here. this guy he's now on 11 games without a goal. Like, we have a guy who is a beloved member of the team who makes things happen, who goes goalless for 10, 12, 11, 15 games in a row. Those guys were that before. We've been through this with Eberle, with Beauvillier, with Bailey, with Grabner. The list goes on and on. Guys who made stuff happen and were good players that just would completely stop scoring goals for a quarter of the season at a time. Like, you can't have that. We need more from these guys. The Islanders need more from these guys, and I feel like they're getting by on puck possession. Chances. They make chances. Again, they're good on the power play, but like, I want to see some pucks go in some nets, guys. Like, I really
Yep.
do. I need it. I need it.
Yeah, I think it's fair. And I think Palmieri, they're almost two different, even though they play on the same lines. It's two different conversations because I think
Yes.
Palmieri does deserve a lot of credit for the way that the power play
Yeah.
has gone. Um, but at the same time, like you want to, he had that chance against the Knights. You got to bury that at some
Yeah.
point here. Like if you're going to get three of those, one out of every three needs to go in when you're that kind of player. And it's that line has been just so steady and productive for almost a calendar year now, and I think that's part of why they do get these passes. I do also think that Engvall's role to me could be expanded
Mm.
in a little bit. I think like he's killed penalties before, and he might not scream the kind of prototypical penalty killer,
Mm.
but he's long, and he's fast, and he's pretty good defensively. Like the penalty kill's been abysmal, so I don't know
Yeah.
why his role they're not giving him more of those kind of fringe responsibilities, because I think he could definitely do a job in those kind of situations. Like he's someone to me when we were talking about seeing games out and Clutterbuck and Cizikas are automatic to go over the boards. Like Engvall to me, I think is a perfect less than 2 minutes left player because
Mm.
he's not gonna. You can trust that he's not gonna do something stupid. Keeps things pretty simple, and
Right.
he's not gonna take a dumb penalty or whatever. And he's long, and he gets the puck, and he shields the puck well, and he can skate the puck out of the zone. So I do wonder why he's not getting more situation. And I think another reason that these two guys maybe get a little bit, and Pajot kind of falls into this category as well. The reason that they're not getting as much heat in terms of their actual production is that guys like Holmstrom and lately Gauthier have picked
Yeah.
up. So it's not like the
Oh,
Islanders are wanting.
yeah.
Um, but you can't rely on that. And maybe you can rely on Holmstrom. Maybe he's turned into a player now where we're just like we just got to adjust our thinking about him. He's not going to shoot 29%, of course, but like he's at this point, maybe we can just count on him to be almost of the same quality in terms of production as Palmieri. But
Mm.
um, and, and I like to always spin these conversations as at when people start getting real frustrated with players like this. Like, all right, maybe we've seen the worst of them. Like if the Islanders are doing this well with a ice cold Palmieri and an ice cold Engvall, just think
Yeah.
about what happens if they can click it into gear.
Yeah. I
So
guess that's true. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
and I do think like Palmieri to me has been much more good than bad all season. I think Engvall too. But you're definitely when we're starting to hit like the stretch or the top of the stretch here,
Mm.
they're gonna that's good. Like it's
Yeah.
great that they're playing. Like the process looks good, but the results
Yeah.
are gonna start need to coming around if the Islanders are gonna keep afloat here.
Yeah. Engvall also, yeah, shooting percentage is a good point because Engvall right now is shooting 8.8. That's below his career average of 10.9. That should come up to at some point. And Palmieri is shooting 11% right now, which is not bad when you think about it, but his normal percentage is 12.2, so he's a little bit lower. But I mean, this is the guy who scored 30 goals. He had 30 goals, 26, 24, 27, 25, all with the Devils. And
Right.
like, I would die for that one of those
Yep.
totals right now. I mean,
He looked like that's the frustrating thing here is it looked like he was on his way to like 25 goals kind of
yeah,
easily here and then
yeah,
just went cold. So
yeah.
Butch
Again,
Butch keeps talking about him. He's about to get hot and Engvall's about to get hot and
real good.
yeah.
Huh?
And by the way, Butch has been unbelievable the past few games. I
How
think
many
like
times did he call the Golden Knights the Las Vegas
the
Thunder?
Thunder. Oh god. And I
Shout
can
out
almost
International Hockey League, Las Vegas Thunder.
I can almost a sense that at like uh I used to feel that you can feel kind of Brendan getting frustrated through the screen with
Yeah.
Butch and some of his foibles.
Mm.
And I think now he's kind of just been like, you know what? Like I just gotta let this guy do his thing. Like it's not nobody's tuning into the Islander broadcast to hear like, Butch Goring break down the nuances of a 1-3-1 trap in the
Right.
modern game, right? Like this isn't why we're doing it, but we are glad he's along for the ride
Mm.
to mispronounce Simeon Varlamov's name or
Right.
uh, you know, hearing him try to say Pavel Dorofeyev
Yeah.
last night was a lot of fun.
Yeah. I
And
like
and
how
I like when Brendan picks and chooses his points to his moments to correct him.
mm.
He did it last night, and I can't even remember what it was, but I was like, I love that he chose that one to correct, but he lets like 10 others go. Oh, he was
Well,
talking about Jack Hughes. He was like, Jack Hughes got hurt tonight, Brendan. He's like, no, he actually got hurt last night, Butch, but they just did lose.
that's very funny. I just like how he calls Bortuzzo the twos. So,
The
and I'm
twos,
sure
yeah, the
he's very upset
twos.
about losing the twos now. We
Yeah.
didn't even talk about that, but yeah, Bortuzzo's hurt. And, if you told me 6 months ago that the Islanders would maybe really be hurt by the loss of Robert Bortuzzo, I would be like, what the hell are you talking about? Well, we'll
Oh,
see it.
it's
But
it's
yeah.
I'm how it's almost poetic what he did,
Yeah.
right? Like
Right.
it feels like this is a season-ending injury just from
Right.
the vibe that everyone's kind of giving out here
Mm,
that
yeah.
he's probably done for the year.
He is on on IR right now. Not
Yeah,
long
he's on
term.
IR,
But,
and,
yeah.
he gave us 11 games. Like, he got the Islanders plug and the definition of a plug-and-play player.
Mm,
It's almost it's I obviously, we don't ever wanna see anyone get hurt, Elliot, but
mm.
it is almost poetic that
Yeah.
this happened, that he comes they plug him in there for for 11 games. And
Mm.
that's it. He goes down and he's out, and he's now absolutely 100% heading for Weird Islander,
Yeah.
and a very good, almost dramatic 11 game
Yeah.
stint with the Islanders here. So
Yeah.
yeah, thank you for your service, Robert. Man,
Definitely. And yeah, definitely jump the line on the the current Weird Islanders queue. So we'll probably be seeing him again very, very shortly. But yeah, we'll see. But it's not long term injured reserve, so we'll see what
yeah,
happens. But by the time he comes back, I'm assuming Pellick is almost back now. Pullock he who is on long term injured reserve might be back, but we'll see. I don't know. He's still in a boot, maybe. I don't even know. But we'll see. We'll see how things are going. And man, Mike Riley continues to write his legend.
yeah.
So that'll be fun. Okay, to monitor. Okay, the time has come for our monumental announcement. You've waited patiently, and so here it is. We have been trying to put together a live event for some time now, and we had some dates. The Islanders' schedule didn't really help out a lot in the terms. I'll get more in depth that in a second, but we have a date and a place for a live event, and it will be this season. It will be Saturday night, March 30th, at the beautiful, brand new Offsides Tavern in New York City. We will be gathering there at 4 o'clock. The Islanders have a game that night in Tampa Bay. So 4 o'clock, people can start coming in. Around 4:45 or so, we're going to start doing a live podcast. I'll talk about that again in a second. And then, that'll take us right up until about game time. We'll watch the game, and we're going to have a good time. So this is something that, we've been trying to put together for a while. We tried to get it earlier in the season. I wanted to do it on a day when the Islanders had a road matinee game, but the joke was on me because they don't have any. And so I was a little bit annoyed. Every time they have a matinee, it's at UBS Arena. And I'm like, why would people come here? And so they can go to UBS. But this worked out. It's a Saturday night game on the road in Tampa, and we can get a live podcast going. And again, I'm expecting it to be a great time. Now, about that live podcast. Now, obviously, you're listening to Islanders Anxiety. We are Islanders Anxiety. This is an Islanders Anxiety event, but the live podcast will be a Weird Islanders podcast. And what we would like is, if you're going to come, you don't have to, but if you want to, please do. Bring your Weird Islanders swag with you. That is jerseys. That is t-shirts. That is posters. That is bobbleheads, action figures, whatever you got. That's a Weird Islander. Bring it. Again, the criteria: less than a season with the Islanders. Probably a veteran guy who, people don't remember was an Islander. Don't bring your John Tavares stuff and be like, oh, he's weird. We don't want that. We want guys that could possibly be on Weird Islanders. We want to see them because We're going to have some microphones set up. And as we, we'll bring people up to tell us where they're from, who they're wearing, and why. And we're going to record it and use it on a later episode of Weird Islanders, the podcast. So I'm very excited about this. I know you're very excited about this. You are a person that has obviously organized many huge live events. I don't think we are going to reach the level of FrancescaCon, but I am very excited about this. March 30th at the Offside Tavern. Thanks. Huge shout out to Nick Costa, who's the best. He and I have been talking for a while, and he's been helping me through all this whole thing. We're going to have some raffles, which is great too. So we hope to see you all there. How excited are you for this, the first ever Islanders Anxiety live event finally being a reality?
I know, yeah. I feel like a natural and big step for a podcast these
Yeah.
days. And it's only taken 9 years for us to get here, and even though we've been talking about it for
Yeah,
good, way more than half
sure.
of our podcast existence here.
Mhm.
Yeah, I'm excited too because it's so much fun when you get to talk to um Islander fans who you just know online or whatever, and meet
Mhm.
them in real life, and uh the conversation you start to go into almost like how the Islanders has shaped your personal life a little bit, and you learn you already know, you've already done the hard lifting of building like a friendship, which
Mhm.
is, oh, this guy or girl is an absolute mental case like I am because of the Islanders. So we can skip right past that portion, and you there's a kind of fun wall that's already been hammered down. The guards aren't up
Right.
anymore. It's like when you meet someone at work and you find out, oh, this person's like a metalhead or a fish
Mhm.
head or a Grateful Dead head. It's like, yeah, that's Paul from accounting, and last night he was wearing a Super Mario costume at Madison Square Garden because Fish was there or something.
Right.
Like it's always nice to meet people like that. When you can just appreciate that they come from the same tribe
Mhm.
as you, and so I'm really excited to get it going. Think yeah, one of the I don't want to even put this out there, but one of the from the annals of FrancescaCon history ever was Mike Francesa went on WFAN, and this was during the salad days of his solo show too.
Right.
Like his popularity was at a peak, and
Right.
then he went on. I think it was Katie Nolan was hosting it at the time, and she was pretty
Mm.
big back then too. And not only did he say it on his show, but on her show that Francesca Khan was rain, sleet, or snow a go. And he said that because there was a huge blizzard predicted,
Right. Oh
and
yeah. Yeah.
blizzard came and it canceled France or postponed Francesca. So Mike went off script there and told everybody that no matter what happens, like we're going, and so I'm gonna say that here too. That rain, sleet, or snow, we're gonna be there. I don't care if a blizzard comes.
Well, it is March, so hopefully, in the end of March.
Yes.
So hopefully we are beyond that stuff. But we tried to get this done earlier in the season, but it wasn't a winter storm, but college football that
Yep.
kind of postponed us a little bit. So we thought it was better and more prudent to kind of move it towards the a couple of months later. But we're very excited. We're hoping to see a lot of people there. It's again March 30th, 4 o'clock at the beautiful brand new Offside Tavern in Lower East Side. I have not been there. I've seen pictures of it, so I'm really looking forward to going. And we'll be talking about this in every podcast going forward. So you won't forget. Don't worry about it. And again, if you're coming and you want to participate, bring your Weird Islanders stuff. We want to hear how you got it, why you own it, and where you're from, and get to all that. So I am going to need to source some microphones, but fortunately, I have about 2.5 months to do that. So we'll get that going. But there you go. March 30th, Offside Tavern, 4 o'clock. Be there. First ever live event in Islanders Anxiety history. Okay. A couple other things before we wrap this up real quick. We put out a Weird Islanders episode just last week about handsome Tom Kuhnhackl with our friend AJ DeVito of Skates and Steaks podcast. And, to paraphrase the opening of Knight Rider, is a shadowy flight into the dangerous world of a goal that does not exist. And if you didn't think that three guys could talk for an hour about a goal that never actually happened on a scoreboard anywhere, trust me, We did, and it was great. And we talked about his actual goals that scored too. So if you haven't heard it, take a listen. It came out really great. And and obviously listen to Skate to the Stakes with AJ and Jake and Rat Martin. Their podcast is great. Speaking of podcasts, I was on Nassau Men Hockey Podcast with our buddy John Zella the other day, and take a listen to that too. It was recorded the night of the Coyotes game, but we didn't really talk about that game that much. We did talk a little bit about the Colorado game, so it should still be fairly fresh. But John's a great dude, and we had a good time talking about the usual gripes from Islanders fans, the team not playing, playing like assholes, not getting any media coverage, that kind of thing. So check it out, and it was great. It's on YouTube and the usual places too. So always, and Nassau Men's always good too. So I was brought in on emergency recall because James couldn't make it, so it was fun. That's about it. We are going to be back next week. Mike, like he said, is on vacation, but we do have a special guest who will be joining us, and we'll be back, and then we'll be back in the regular schedule after that. Sign up at patreon.com/Islanders Anxiety for ad-free episodes, bonus podcasts, and more. Follow us on Twitter at Isles Anxiety Pod. Leave us a review on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. And our theme song is Morning Haze by Family Dinner. Listen to more of their music at Bandcamp and Spotify. Read Lighthouse Hockey every single day. Islanders Anxiety Podcasts are part of the Fans First Sports Network. Learn more at fansfirstsports.com. Shop vintageIcehockey.com. Try wines from the Pinot Project. If you are a Country Club tier subscriber at the Patreon, the patches should be going out soon. I've been in contact with Kevin, and hopefully within the next couple of weeks they start going out. So thank you very much for that. And Mike, where can everybody find you on Twitter?
The Big Lebowski with 2 E's.
Follow Mike at the Big Lebowski. Read and listen to his work in Action Network. I can't talk right now. It must be late. Any final thoughts on the missed opportunities of the week that was, and the potential opportunities to shove some things down some people's throats in the week coming up?
No, I think that we've covered it all here. We've touched on a lot of things. We didn't really talk about Matt Barzal being an all-star, which whatever. We're not huge fans of the all-star game to begin with, and the discourse about it is just going to be
I know, it's awful. Jeez.
incredible because of it being in Toronto. Chris Johnston. I have a Master Leaf Theater that I have in my holster for when we get to All-Star
Well,
weekend.
they have off the week of the All-Star game, the Islanders do. So we have an opportunity for a massive sort of like supersized episode
Yeah.
that week. So
And so I'm ready to get into that. But
can't wait.
yes, this week coming up, I'm gonna hope for the same thing that I was hoping for 7 days ago, which is like a little bit more clarity. More important than that, the clarity has the Islanders in a better position. In that the Islanders are in a better position at the end of this week than they were when they started it, which is the exact same thing that I was hoping for last week, and it really kind of turned out that the Islanders were in the same exact position that they ended up in, and it is kind of funny here that the loser point discourse has tapered out off a little bit now that the Maple Leafs have taken over the league lead in overtime games. So weird that the that discourse has kind of quieted down a bit.
That is so strange. I'm shocked. Wow, who
Yeah.
could have possibly seen that coming? But yeah, well, we'll see. And they might have one more in them this week. We'll have to find out. I could see that happening as well. God, hopefully the Islanders win that one too. So right, they won the last one. Yeah, right. The Horvat.
Oh yeah. They won. They won that game. You wouldn't know it. You wouldn't know it.
That's
but they
why
won
I
that
almost
game.
forgot. Yeah.
Yeah. They.
Oh my God, this season is.
Don't worry. Only 42 more games.
Oh my God, I can't even. I can't believe I made it through 39 that we've already seen. But anyway,
39.
But we got a couple more coming up, and we will talk about how they go next week. All right, thanks a lot for listening, and we will talk to you again soon. Bye bye.